Good morning. It is early on Tuesday. It's about 6:15. I've been up for a bit, just kind of getting started on morning routine. But I'm not gonna lie, I do not feel great today. Yesterday was a very low energy day for me, like kind of worse than I've experienced in a while. And I was really hoping that a good night's sleep was gonna make me feel a lot better. I do think I slept pretty well, but do not really feel better yet this morning. I just feel very like my body feels really heavy and kind of lethargic, and I have a lot more brain fog than I have had in quite a while as well. So I'm not entirely sure why that might be happening for 2 days in a row. Usually if I have a day like that where I'm more fatigued or have more brain fog than usual, it might be because I didn't sleep great the night before or just had like a more active day or something. And usually I will wake up the next day feeling a lot better. But so far that is not the case. I haven't looked at my Oura ring yet to see if my sleep was maybe more disrupted than I thought or something, but this is where I do rely on a lot of the habits that I already have in place that I know ultimately will help my body recover and help me feel better. So things like getting morning sunlight, getting movement, good nutrition and hydration, kind of the basics. So the sun is coming up. I'm gonna get outside, get that morning sunlight into my eyes. Gonna do a little bit of like a mobility functional movement training in the gym this morning, just because like I said, my body feels kind of like heavy and lethargic. It feels like it's going to be a little bit hard to get moving this morning, but I think once I get started, I know I will feel a little better and see what feels manageable to do. And then I do also actually have a red light therapy and massage appointment scheduled this morning. I haven't been doing the red light therapy like at the clinic in the full like red light bed in quite a while because I do have my small little red light panel that I've been using so regularly. But I realized that I still had a few sessions left from a package that I had bought previously long before I had my red light panel here. And since I'm going to be going into that same location for my massage, figured it wouldn't hurt to get into the full length red light bed, which obviously like a clinical strength red light therapy is going to be probably quite a bit stronger than the one that I have, or more powerful, more effective. So if I can still get in there from time to time, that would be kind of nice. Hopefully that plus the massage will kind of help shake off this icky groggy feeling. I am also experimenting a little bit with a macro tracking app this week. I just downloaded it like yesterday or the day before, kind of played around with it a little bit. I haven't done like a full day of tracking yet. Still kind of getting used to how the app works and like remembering to put things in there. But I would like to try to get a full day of tracking in today as well. I mean, my plan is to kind of do like at least a few days here and there on different days to kind of see. I don't feel like I need to track every single day to get a good idea of where I'm at or what kind of gaps I might have, or just like to get a good overall picture of where my nutritional intake is at. But I would like to get, I think, like at least a few days this week and weekend. So maybe this is my way of keeping myself accountable to remembering to track everything today. Well, that seems to kind of match up with how I'm feeling. Like my sleep was pretty good, but readiness a little bit lower than usual. So the first thing I'll be tracking for the day is my morning hydration drink, which has creatine, collagen, aminos, and electrolytes, and some coconut water for more electrolytes. I also put modified citrus pectin in here, which is a supplement that I take as just like a gentle detoxification support. And usually what I do is I put the modified citrus pectin and a collagen in a little bit of water the night before, because those two things sometimes can be a little bit hard to dissolve and they'll just get like clumpy if I try to mix it in with everything else. So I'll put that in either like first thing in the morning or the night before if I remember. Once it's dissolved, I'll add the creatine, aminos, and electrolytes, and then finish with some coconut water. I will also take vitamin C supplement this morning. This is something that I would take daily anyways, just part of my normal supplement routine, but I like to take it with this hydration drink in the morning because vitamin C will help with the absorption of collagen that is in here. I also have B12 supplement and vitamin DK2 supplement that I take in the morning. I would like at some point to put all of my supplements into the macro calculator as well, just to see how that changes like micronutrient profile, but that will probably take a little bit of time. So I might do that another day. At least today, just try to get any food or beverages in there and kind of see what that looks like first. Okay, so I'm gonna put that hydration drink into the app. The nice thing with this is that like every brand or food or item imaginable is in here, so it's been really easy to find whatever I'm using. Some of the things I already found yesterday and can just like click on them again. My morning hydration drink has 93 calories, 11 grams of protein, 0 grams of fat, 14 grams of carbs. Cool. Okay, so breakfast that was an egg, some chicken sausage, and then a protein smoothie. That was about 400 calories, almost 40 grams of protein, 15 grams of fat, and 28 grams of carbs. Just got back from my red light and massage appointments. I feel so much better. It was like a little mini nap and relaxation session, so that was great. And now I'm going to make some lunch and make sure to log it all in the app.
With some make people on dates happy. So they're more interested in talking to scientists on the apps. Is that right?
Oh, there are these arrows
I know,
inside
so many.
one side changing their own lives, let alone making the
And it is a weird
divide. It could be pickleball, it could be a barbecue.
But where they go on their first date is that actually anxious people get a lot listening to your describe a special advantage.
Okay, repeat lunch that you've already seen a few times, but this will be the first time that I'm actually logging it and tracking it. So we'll see what the macros actually look like. I'm going to have some chocolate as my post-lunch treat, but the breakdown for everything I had for lunch was 514 calories, 35 grams of protein, 21 grams of fat, and 43 grams of carbs. And then I'll add in the chocolate later so that it will be included in my daily total. It's about 6 o'clock now. While I was in the sauna, I had dinner heating up in the oven. And this is something that I make whenever I'm not really sure what I want or like nothing sounds particularly good. It's very simple, it's easy to put together. I almost always have the ingredients on hand and it always ends up being pretty satisfying even if it didn't like necessarily sound particularly appealing in the first place. So it's just chicken sausage, some tomato sauce, sauteed peppers, roasted garlic, and then just like a bunch of herbs and spices. And then for a little extra hydration and also carbs, I made a smoothie with banana, blueberries, some greens powder, and a fiber supplement that I also like to include to get extra fiber. I'm gonna eat this, probably will have like another piece of chocolate or something afterwards as well. And then I'll log it and we'll see where I end up for the day. Okay, I just finished logging everything for the day and the grand total, sorry, the dishwasher's making noise in the background, but the total breakdown for the day was 140 grams of protein, 84 grams of fat, and 164 grams of carbs, which was a total of just under 2,000 calories. Obviously, this is like assuming that I logged everything correctly, which I do have a little digital food scale, so I can weigh stuff and actually input very accurate measurements, but there probably is gonna be at least some margin of error. Also, the app, when you create a profile in there, it basically gives you target numbers to start with, and then as you go, it'll update those like based off of your goals, your activity level, what you're eating, etc. So it started me off with a target of just under 2,100 calories a day, aiming for 119 grams of protein, 69 grams of fat, and 245 grams of carbs. And that was also based off of, I think I put in that like I was going for a balanced breakdown of protein, carbs, and fats, not necessarily like low carb or keto or anything like that. So at least for today, I was a little higher in protein and fat, and at least from what their target numbers were, lower in carbs. It's not necessarily on purpose. I do feel like I maybe choose to eat more protein or fat over carbs just as my personal preference. I feel like I feel a little better if I do that, or just like certain foods that I enjoy that mean that I'm going to be choosing foods that are higher in protein or fat versus carbs. But I'm guessing too that over, like, as I track over a few days, I'll have days that are maybe a little higher in carbs and lower in protein and fat. I don't know, I guess we'll see. The other thing I think I can look at here, it says I got 37 grams of fiber, which that is a lot more than I was expecting, but I'm pleasantly surprised about that. Also, it says that added sugar is only 5 grams, which I'm a little skeptical about that, just given what I know that I eat in terms of like adding some honey to my tea or like chocolate, that kind of stuff. I would think that would be more than 5 grams, but maybe if it's not including like honey or maple syrup as like an added sugar, maybe that's why. I also need to get all of my supplements included in here because I think that'll change things a little bit too, at least in terms of like micronutrients. For example, it has like omega-3s in here. I take omega-3 supplements, but if that's not included today, that's gonna show up as lower than what my actual total would be. And same thing with like vitamins and minerals. If I were to put in everything that I'm taking in supplement form, that'll probably change quite a bit too. So that would be interesting to add in. The other thing is, like, I did have some caffeine. I'm not sure why it didn't calculate that, but in any case, interesting first day of tracking. Good morning, happy Friday. It is 6:30 now. Unfortunately, my cyst, or I don't know, I guess I'm not even sure if it's a cyst anymore, but whatever it is, has flared up again and is very painful. I started noticing it a little bit on like Wednesday night. I was kind of hoping it was just gonna fade away and not escalate, but I feel like you can even see that this side of my face is definitely sort of swollen. And it kind of feels like, I guess I don't know what it would feel like to have an infected tooth, but that's what I imagine it would feel like it's a very intense ache, just kind of all through this side of my face, and then it makes my whole head and neck tight. My teeth feel very sore on that side, and this is exactly what happened 2 other times when this flared up. I'm assuming it just either gets like irritated by something, or I get like maybe a minor sinus infection and it's just painful while my body is kind of fighting it off, because the last 2 times it happened, it lasted for like somewhere between 4 to 7 days, and then it just would totally disappear and not happen for a really long time. The last time it flared up was when I had just gotten back from my trip to Florida at the end of March, so you know, it's definitely been a while, and I guess I'm just hoping it will follow the same pattern and maybe last for a few days and then go away, because it is very uncomfortable. I did take some Tylenol last night just to be able to fall asleep because it was distracting me enough that I was afraid it was going to keep me up, and that does help. So I do know that if it gets to the point where I kind of can't tolerate it anymore, I can take something and get relief for a little bit, but I would rather not be like relying on medication all day for many days in a row if I can help it. And as long as I'm kind of distracted or like doing something else, I don't notice it so much. It does hurt to eat a little bit or to chew, so that's unfortunate, but obviously it's happened before. I've gotten through it before. So in my mind, as long as I feel like I can tell myself that it's only going to be a few more days at most, that makes it feel manageable. But I guess I don't totally know if it were to get worse or to go on for longer than like a week, that might be a different story. I do actually have an appointment with an ENT on Monday. The last oral surgeon that I saw did say that an ENT might be able to manage this, or that it might be worth doing a consultation. And I figured at this point, why not get another opinion? So I do have that scheduled on Monday. So I guess worst case scenario, if this is still bothering me by then, I can get someone's thoughts on it when it's actually inflamed. But in any case, gonna get the day started, gonna get outside for a few minutes of morning sunlight in my eyes, get warmed up, do a little workout, and also continue my macro tracking. I think this is like the 4th full day that I've done it. So we'll see what that looks like today.
More at Bank. I'm joined by a London-based think tank.
Camera license allowing Iran you that easier for Iran to
We have a more
exports and really managing the volatility in the global. But I would also isolating Iran be basically a G20 global economic order and a potentially returns and contribute.
My pre-workout food this morning is a beef stick and a date. So getting some easy to digest carbs in the date and a little bit of protein in the beef stick. And between that and my hydration drink that I had earlier, I have consumed about 200 calories, 18 grams of protein, 5 grams of fat, and 20 grams of carbs. I will say I think the protein total so far is a little higher, or skews a little higher, just because my hydration drink has collagen peptides in it, but that's not a complete protein. So yes, I'm getting maybe a little bit of protein from that, but probably not quite as much as it's calculating. But in any case, got some protein in, got some carbs in, and should be good to go for my workout. Post-workout, I'm having a protein bar. I'm also gonna have some yogurt. I always have a Brazil nut every morning for the selenium, and then my morning supplements. I logged all of that. Also, during my workout, I had a drink that had a little bit of carbs in it. So between that and post-workout meal and supplements, that's all about 549 calories, 36 grams of protein, 32 grams of fat, and 31 grams of carbs. Overall for the day so far, I'm at 739 calories, 54 grams of protein, 37 grams of fat, and 51 grams of carbs. I'm gonna eat this, and I'm gonna be parking myself at my computer for a couple of hours, and I will check back in when it's time for lunch. For lunch, I've got a beef and chicken bowl. It's my protein. I have some lettuce and salsa, which a little bit of carbs, but also just nutrients. Avocado for healthy fats. And then for carbs, I have half of a gluten-free tortilla and a kiwi. And I also made a matcha. So I'm gonna sit down, eat this, and then I will log it in the app and see what the macros look like for this. Just finished logging everything I had for lunch into the app. The total for that lunch was about 500 calories, 40 grams of protein, 18 grams of fat, and 43 grams of carbs. I also had a few pieces of chocolate afterwards. So total so far for the day, I am at 1,454 calories, 97 grams of protein, 70 grams of fat, and 109 grams of carbs. I have to head over to the gym to train a client, and then when I get back, I'm gonna hop in the sauna for a little bit, and then I will show you what I'm having for dinner, and we'll see where I end up with the macros overall for the day. I'm back from the gym, just got in the sauna. I also just took some Tylenol because my face and mouth are in quite a bit of pain. It is very uncomfortable, and it's very hard to ignore. Like, there's a lot of pain or discomfort that I feel like I can kind of distract myself from, or like just doesn't feel as intense, but for whatever reason, having this just be like right on my face and my teeth. It's very distracting, and it does make it hard to eat, like I was saying, and I just do not want to be this uncomfortable for the rest of the evening. So hoping that will kick in pretty quickly, at least take the edge off a little bit. I've also been like periodically putting an ice pack on my face because it at least gives me some temporary relief. It's kind of soothing, but I have to admit this is kind of making me consider going back to one of the previous oral surgeons that I saw, who I did like and I felt like was probably very skilled. There were a few things about the appointment and kind of the follow-up that just put me off a little bit. Like, it just didn't make me feel particularly like enthusiastic, but I guess in the end, ultimately, like, it's more their skill that I am concerned with, and maybe I have to be less concerned with like how personable they are. But at that particular clinic, they also said if I needed to schedule anything or like was in pain or having a flare up again and wanted to do a surgery more quickly, they could get me in pretty fast, like probably within a week. So that is good to know. At least I feel like if this carries on for too much longer, I do have an option or kind of a backup plan. Although I would like to get at least through my ENT appointment on Monday and see what they have to say. But if I'm still in this much pain by then, I might be pretty willing to just schedule something with that other oral surgeon and get it over with. But got about half an hour left in the sauna. I usually prefer to read when I'm in the sauna. Try not to be watching something or be on a screen, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm uncomfortable enough that even reading feels like too much mental effort or like not distracting enough. So I think I might allow myself this time to bring my phone in here and watch some Netflix or something. I'm not gonna make a habit of it, but I'm giving myself a pass this time because it really does hurt. Tonight I have some broccoli that's roasted in olive oil and spices. For protein, I have some tempeh and chicken, and then I have a smoothie with strawberries, greens powder, and my fiber supplement, and my other evening supplements. And then for carbs, I also have some sweet potato that is currently in the oven. Okay, the final tally for my macros today was 2,329 calories, 158 grams of protein, 104 grams of fat, and 192 grams of carbs. Obviously, with any of this too, like, some of it is estimated. I'm not like weighing and measuring every single thing. So there's going to be a bit of margin of error for sure. If I wanted to be super, super accurate, I could weigh and measure everything, but I just don't really care that much. I'm more trying to get the overview and make sure I don't have any gaps or things that I feel like I'm aiming for that I'm not getting. And the other thing to kind of keep in mind, I think with any kind of tracking or using an app or whatever, is that even if you were perfectly accurate and had exact number of calories or grams of protein or carbs or fat or whatever, that's just what you're consuming. It's not necessarily what you are absorbing, depending on your gut microbiome or even like how food is prepared or whether it's cooked or raw. Like, a lot of nutrients might be more or less available, or your body may or may not be able to really break down and use certain things in certain foods. There's a lot of variables that go into what your body is actually absorbing and using. It's not an exact science, and what you consume is not necessarily the same as what your body is able to use. And the other thing that I'm keeping in mind is, like, I'm not looking for a perfect macro breakdown on every single day, but over a week or over 2 weeks, am I averaging where I want to be or close to where I want to be? So yeah, some days I'm probably going to eat a little more. Some days I might eat a little less. Some days I might have a little less protein and more carbs, or vice versa. And in the end, the goal is for it to kind of even out and for me to be hitting certain targets in the big picture, but not necessarily precisely on an everyday basis. Good morning. It is about 9 o'clock now on Saturday. Got my workout in this morning, just had breakfast, and I tried logging my breakfast there's a feature on the app that I'm using where you can actually just take a picture of your food and it will analyze it and give you like an estimated breakdown. So I decided I wanted to try today having some meals that I've already logged previously, where I actually went in and very specifically put in like the food and the amount and maybe even specific brands for certain items. And then today trying those same meals, but just taking taking a photo of it and seeing how well it does at analyzing that. So I tried taking a picture of my breakfast. I didn't do the smoothie because obviously it's not going to be able to figure out like what I put into a smoothie. But for like the egg and chicken sausage and sweet potato that I had this morning, it did a very good job of recognizing those three things, do the best job at actually pinpointing what those specific foods were or how much. It way overestimated the amount of sweet potato that I had, and it guessed that the sausages I had were pork sausages instead of chicken sausages. So if I had just been relying on that, it would have been like a much different macro breakdown than what it actually was, which makes sense. It's obviously not going to be perfect, but that could definitely come in handy if you were like eating at a restaurant and you didn't want to try to estimate everything that was on your plate or something. So I want to try that again at lunch, just curious to see if I do something a little more complicated, what happens. But that's kind of a nice feature. The app that I'm using is called Macro Factor. I should have mentioned this before. I have no connection to that particular app except that some people that I follow in the health and fitness space have recommended it and used it. So basically it was just one that I had heard of and heard was easy to navigate and would do a good job at tracking macros, so just decided to try that one. And I have found it to be really nice to use. It's very intuitive. It has a ton of, at least foods that I'm eating, already in there. Specific brands and everything are already loaded in there, so it's very easy. Like the particular protein powder that I'm using, put in the name of it, put in how much I use, and all the info is already there, so I don't have to enter any of that. You can also scan barcodes of items, so if something is not in there, you can scan a barcode, and then usually that will pull up all of the nutrition information. You can create your own recipes, so for things that you are eating regularly, you don't have to keep entering in each item individually every time, and then obviously you can take a photo of a meal if you want to try it that way. And this app also gives a breakdown like of all the amino acids you're consuming in a day, so not just overall protein content, but like are there any particular amino acids that you are low in, which might really come in handy if you are like vegetarian or vegan, and it might be harder to get certain amino acids that are found more in animal proteins, but that are like essential for your body and for your diet. So it's nice to have that breakdown. You can see if there's any gaps there. You can also look at all the vitamin and mineral quantities that you're getting. So I really liked this app so far. I obviously haven't tried other ones. I'm sure there are other good ones out there, but because I'd heard of this one, decided to give it a try. And also there was a 14-day free trial, so that definitely made it easier to give it a shot. I wouldn't normally be spending Saturday morning at my computer, but I am behind on this week's YouTube video because I had to switch to a new editing software. The one that I was using previously was honestly kind of annoying because it had a lot of bugs and it would just like freeze or randomly shut down or like delete entire videos that I had created, and I've been meaning to find something different for a long time, but I am not like in any way a trained video person, or I just do not know what I'm doing basically. And the software that I was using previously was really easy, is very intuitive and very like beginner friendly. And so I was trying to find something that would be a lot better than what I was using, but not have too much of a learning curve. So I did find something, but being that this is my first time using it, I'm still really getting used to it, and just everything is taking me like twice as long. Anyway, need to finish that up this morning. And honestly, kind of okay with that, because as much as I was hoping that a good night's sleep last night was going to make my face and mouth a lot less sore, kind of hasn't. It is pretty uncomfortable still this morning. I feel like my face looks crazy, like it's very obviously swollen. I've got my little ice pack that I just periodically try to numb myself with. But I was in bed at like 8 o'clock last night. I feel like being in pain is just exhausting, and wasn't even necessarily like ready to go to bed at 8 o'clock, but I was so uncomfortable that all I wanted to do was to be lying down and like not have to do anything. Given that it is still quite painful this morning, just sort of makes everything feel overstimulating, or like the thought of even like going to the farmer's market this morning just felt like too hard when I am this uncomfortable. So did take a little bit of Tylenol, hoping that will kick in enough that I can focus and get this done, but man, this is very annoying. Okay, I just made some food and I've already logged it in the app, but I'm gonna try taking a picture of it too and just do a comparison of what the breakdown is. So when I put this in with the actual ingredients and like more precise measurements, it came out to be about 400 calories, 34 grams of protein, 17 grams of fat, and 22 grams of carbs. See what happens if I take a picture, analyzing. So the estimate just from the photo is 961 calories, 61 grams of protein, 57 grams of fat, and 54 grams of carbs. So it's definitely not great at estimating. I think it's mostly the portion sizes, because I think if it like seasoned ingredient like chicken, it just sort of like assumes it's a full portion of chicken or something like that. I'm not sure, but could use a little work on the AI macro analyzation. Good morning. It's early on Sunday. It's like 6:15. Wow, my face is so swollen. I feel like it looks worse on camera. It's still pretty sore. I do think it's a little better than it was yesterday, at least so far. It doesn't feel quite as intense as it did yesterday, but I guess we'll kind of see. Sometimes throughout the day it gets a little bit worse, but geez. This is crazy. Anyway, it looks like it's gonna be kind of a stormy day out. Not raining yet, so I'm gonna get outside ASAP, try to just get a little bit of natural light in my eyes, even though it's pretty cloudy, because I'm not sure how much I'll be able to get outside later today. And then I do want to get a workout in. Obviously, kind of have to just see how I feel. Physically, I feel okay. I do feel a little icky, I guess is the word. It sort of feels like if I had a cold or a sinus infection or something. Like my body doesn't feel great, but interestingly, I did sleep quite well, and my Aura Ring said both that my sleep and recovery were really good, but also that there were minor signs of strain, or like minor signs that my body was dealing with something, which I thought was like pretty insightful for it to pick up on that like all of the usual metrics are good and my sleep has been good, but there's clearly something that is a little bit off still. So I'm glad it picked up on that. It makes me feel like using that data is a good thing to do, or like to have on hand, because like it can pick up on that kind of stuff even when I don't know anything is going on. And I just feel like that's nice information to have. But anyway, I'm gonna get the day started, kind of see how things are feeling as I go. I am still taking some Tylenol if I need to, just to not like stress my body out from being in too much pain. So if it does get bad, I will keep taking something, but so far it feels a little bit better. It is Sunday afternoon now, and again, my God, it looks so bad on camera. I swear it doesn't look quite this bad in person. It is still quite painful. I was planning to film a little more today, but honestly, I'm uncomfortable enough that it's just really hard to want to do anything. But I have still been tracking my macros today. I think I've kind of gotten what I need from that at this point. I don't think it's even been a full week that I've been tracking, but given that the days that I have tracked so far, I've been pleasantly surprised at how everything is looking, and like there's nothing that I feel like I really need or want to tweak or change right now. But I'm really glad that I tried that and just like, got a good overall look at where things stand with my normal day-to-day nutritional intake. I also did really like that app. It's called Macro Factor. I would 100% use that again. So if you're looking for something like that, I would recommend checking them out. I think they also offer at least a free week, so you can always just give it a try and see if you like it. If you have any questions about the app in particular or macro tracking in general, feel free to leave those in the comments below. I am trained as a nutrition coach and actually have done some certification courses in coaching macros and macro tracking and everything, so I do feel like it's in my scope, or I have the knowledge there to at least potentially answer questions if you have them. But I'm going to end off this video here. Tomorrow I actually have an appointment with an ENT, which will be kind of interesting because this is the first time that I'll be going to see somebody about this while it's actually flared up. I don't know that that will really change anything. I'm assuming for the most part they're going to be looking at my scans, but might be able to get some insight into what is going on based on how it presents when I am inflamed like this. I'm not expecting to get necessarily new information from an ENT. I more wanted to see if they agreed or disagreed with some of the oral surgeons about whether this is likely a cyst or just fluid buildup, and whether an oral surgeon or an ENT, if one or the other, would be more effective in this situation. So given that I've seen 4 oral surgeons and got slightly different opinions, I figured it wouldn't hurt to hear what an ENT has to say in case they might have like a little bit of a different perspective on it. But also at this point, I just really don't want to be worrying about this happening again. I don't want to be this uncomfortable again. And I'm also worried that if it were to flare up again or be a worse flare up or just more prolonged, it could be wearing away at the bone or doing damage to my teeth, which I definitely don't want. I do have a surgery scheduled with the last oral surgeon I saw, but that's not until August, and I'm just not sure I can tolerate waiting that long at this point. So I don't know. I'm kind of ruminating on this a lot the last couple of days. I'd like to just make up my mind so that I'm not thinking about it anymore. So I'm gonna end this video here. We'll start next week's video with that appointment, and we will see where things go from there. So thank you very much for watching. Again, if you have any macro tracking questions, leave those below. You can like this video or subscribe down below if you want. I would really appreciate that, and I will see you next week.